Today we have Ali Babel from Trellis. Give us a wave.
Hello. How are you, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you as well. Obviously, you and I know one another already, but just for the benefit of the listeners and watchers at home, if you can just give us a little bit of a rundown of who you are, what you do, and why should people be listening to you in this space?
Yeah, no, awesome to be here, Lewis. I know we had some time trying to get this on the books, but a big part of who I am, Ali Babel, Chief Growth Officer at a company called Trellis. We're helping brands grow on Amazon and Walmart through all of the what I like to call the 4 Ps, whether it be advertising, pricing, placement, or product content as well, and supporting it all through automation and AI. The fun part about what I get to do is I actually get to spend a lot of time educating. Spend a lot of time talking to people about and brands and understanding their pain, and then also being able to provide them solutions, whether it be from a technical standpoint or be from a knowledge standpoint, and jumping on with good friends like yourself, Lewis, and being able to communicate to them and tell them how to help and solve their pains, whether it be through frameworks, through automation, through AI, but always thinking about profitability at the core of all of it. And so why listen to me? I don't know. I ask myself that question all the time. But more than anything, it's if you want to learn and if you want to be better. And that's a big part of what I like to do and what I like to teach about.
There you go. You heard it here first. So as you said, with where you are in the industry, Trellis sits at the crossroad between AI, marketplace growth, and seller profitability. So what was the first thing that gave you that spark to take on this space? And did you have any early experiences, maybe with your own brand, that shaped the way that you start to guide brands today?
Yeah, a big part of before I joined Trellis, I ran an agency for a long time. And a lot of what we saw, and a lot of what I saw there, and even with the founders at Trellis here as well, there's so much data, there's so much to do, there's so much to think about, there's so much that a lot of brands can't actually do, even though they have access to that data. And so one of the biggest pains being, if you have the data, what do you do with it? We look at spreadsheets, we look at that all the time. Every Amazon seller is a pro at spreadsheets. Every brand is super familiar with spreadsheets and looks at them and has a whole folder of different ones and reports in different ways. But doing something with that data is the biggest part. And so how do you democratize the tooling that only the upper echelon of brands ever had the capacity for, right? That they could pay for, they could throw 100 people at it and build the tooling that makes sense for them. And so it's that big part of what we do and why we do it is being able to help brands act on those and do so in an automated fashion without having to staff up to 100 people or to get to 150 million or 200 million to be able to afford these things. And so coming to Trellis and working here, and even with the founders, a lot of the vision has been advertising in isolation doesn't get you there, right? Everyone thinks, hey, I'm just going to run some ads and it's going to work out for me. I'm going to drive the traffic and it's going to work out. But oftentimes your problems that you have when advertising isn't effective for you is because your content's not working for you, or your price not aimed correctly, or you don't have a promo when your competitors do. And so the key idea here is that how do you get everything to work together in a systematic fashion, right? Because how do you pull all those levers, and when do you know when to pull those levers? And that's where we're going and where we're building towards, is having the optimization, the system, and the framework built in an automatic fashion to be able to push those levers together, right? And so advertising is a big part of that, of course. Pricing is a big part of that as well. But we really want to bridge that gap between data and decision-making so brands can really scale profitably and do so without pulling their hair out.
That's important, yeah, sure. Well, when you were first in the trenches, maybe you've been pulling your own hair out, but what was one of the first experiences that you learned from that hands-on, like being there, yourself? What was some of the things that you found to either be really expensive, costly mistakes, or just unexpected lessons that you took away when you first got into marketplace advertising?
Yeah, one of the biggest things. This is always an interesting one, and I always think back to this. I was working with a brand out of LA. And one of the biggest things was always, hey, we think that we want to go after, our category is, this is going to be really funny here, but it was feminine hygiene products. And so it was like, okay, we want to go after top of funnel. right? We want to rank for everything when it comes to tampons, to pads, everything at the top there. And so when you think about that, it's like, well, focusing on that and listening to, yes, as brands, we want to be there for that single keyword that matches everything. And you spend a lot of money on that, right? And so you spend a lot of money there, you spend a lot of money going after that, and actually thinking and listening to that. This is one of the first earlier days of my, let's call it my advertising career. And the brand was hell bent on it. And it's like, they didn't take the step back to say, well, actually, how much is that going to eat away at my overall profitability? And we were, okay, fine, we'll do it. And really kind of trying to push them away from that. And so that there's vanity metrics, but then there's also vanity like strategies as well, where it's like, I just want to make sure I'm showing up at the top there all the time, when really it's not always going to drive the best results for you. It's not going to be super profitable. It's not going to be driving your ROAS effectively for you. It's going to give you the awareness, but it's not going to get you to the bottom. And so making sure that you actually don't go after like the vanity. I call it like the vanity advertising, right? Where it's like, well, I want to be there and I just want to be there. And that's an emotional thing. That's not a profitable thing. And so once you saturate, go through the bottom of the funnel first, work your way up to the top and make sure you get there. And the other piece I'd say is chasing ACoS. Everyone always chases ACoS way too much. We make decisions off of ACoS all the time. And it's inefficient. It's fundamentally inefficient. It's not the way to do it. ACoS isn't meant, a high ACoS for a campaign, maybe one that's actually driving a lot of new to brand and bringing in a lot of new customers for you. And so you have to look beyond the individual campaign, beyond the individual ACoS of a campaign to see if it's really driving real growth for you. And that's one of the earlier lessons. And to be honest, AMC unlocked a lot of that data that we didn't have before on Amazon, and to help make some of those decisions a lot easier for you too.
So have you ever looked at a brand strategy and just thought, this is absolutely hemorrhaging cash, and then took that strategy and managed to rework it into something that has delivered like actual ROI for them?
Yeah, I talked about this framework at Accelerate earlier this year, and I called it the tacos code. And it was what you see, and again, it's a lot of what I just talked about there. It's that ACoS. It's everyone chasing that ACoS, making decisions off of ACoS. But when really everyone actually wants to optimize against tacos, right? And so when looking at that and saying, okay, well, if we look at all of the campaigns and we say which ones are actually driving efficiency for us, which are within our ACoS range, which ones are, how much new to brand are we getting from each one? How much repeat customers are we getting from each one? What is our average order value coming in off of each one of these campaigns? And those three strategies are how any business grows. And so when you start evaluating with that lens against those campaigns, you're able to drive better performance for them. And so the reworking was, okay, well, let's actually categorize and group all of these campaigns into highly efficient, highly incremental. And by incremental, I mean new to brand and driving repeat. And looking at it in a quadrant with 4 boxes of various different high and lows of efficiency and incrementality, and saying, okay, well, we know which ones to cut. We know which ones we want to fund because it's driving new to brand and it's highly efficient for us. And we know which ones we want to start testing, that even though the ACoS is high, it's driving a lot of new to brand for us. And we need to start thinking about shifting towards buying shoppers, not buying sales, right? It's acquiring new shoppers. And the high ACoS is fine because they're going to come and spend more money with me later on, right? But that works. And so shifting that entire approach to saying, let's just not look at ACoS and think about how that's driving our approach. Let's shift towards looking at our customers and thinking about that in a more effective manner as well, and figuring out how to buy better shoppers. And so the strategy was sound. The rework was actually really, really good. And so you saw a lot of efficiencies there, I'd say about 20 to 30% in terms of driving towards their actual tacos targets there too. So it was really good. It was really powerful. It's a great framework, and hit me up if anyone wants to, and I can send you a GPT to help you figure it out.
Nice. So, I mean, alongside that, we often hear of, new growth hacks and sales hacks that everybody should employ so that they can become more profitable. But what are some of the, I don't know if you've got examples of them, but what are some of the most overlooked opportunities that you think are out there that are currently on Amazon and within Amazon advertising in general? And why are people missing them?
Yeah, I hate the word hacks because hacks are so short term. It doesn't get you long term wins, right? And everyone thinks like, what's the fast way? What's the easy way? Growing a business is not there. You can't take the shortcut. There isn't a shortcut. And so coming back to the core fundamentals of what is Amazon advertising, and core fundamentals of business, right? We all care about making a sale. We want to make money. But acquiring a customer and the byproduct of that is actually revenue, right? If I get a customer who's going to work with my brand, I'm going to get more revenue from that customer. And so shopper insights is one of the biggest things. AMC, understanding your customer base, right? And I actually have talked about this for a few years now, since AMC came out, and people still aren't thinking about it. People still don't know. If you're watching this right now and you ask yourself the question, if you don't have an answer to the question I'm about to ask you, how many new to brand customers did you gain last month? If you don't know the answer to that question, then you're fundamentally not looking at AMC. You're doing it wrong, right? And as part of that, it's the ability to create your own playbook off of that data, right? You can create audiences of your best customers. You can look at the lifetime value and the people that spend the most amount with you and say, hey, how do I find lookalike people who look like that? And advertise against to those, both on sponsored ads and DSP as well. And so the old playbooks of branded generic competitor and everything we learned from all these gurus and all these growth hacks and all these things, everyone does that already. But you actually have the ability now to run your own playbooks and off your own shopper data. And that's it's not a hack, it's not a growth hack, it's just base core fundamental good business. And AMC actually unlocks that for you.
A little bit more into that. So how exactly do you think that AMC is going to change the way that everybody interfaces with ads nowadays?
Well, because you can understand your data, because you can actually see all that, right? The new to brand repeat. And again, this is only one aspect of it. And you can create audiences from that. And so you can't know I don't know that it's you, Lewis, that bought my product, but I can say that, hey, who are the people that have spent the most amount of money with me, right? And create a group of those people. So let's say the highest lifetime value, right? Everyone who spends the most with me, those are my best customers. They come back, they buy again, they do all that. And so if I say, if these are my best customers, I want to find people that look like that. So there's exact, similar, most similar, balance. Like there's a few layers and you think about like circles getting bigger and bigger of customers there. And so you can take those audiences and say, now I'm going to actually incorporate them into my ads, right? Whether it be through the multipliers. And so if you look at what I said earlier, that vanity kind of campaign of saying, hey, let me run that top of search to get new to brand. It's one that people do all the time, right? But it's when you can afford it. It's when when you've already saturated the bottom of the funnel. And so with AMC and actually adding on this audience on top of that, saying, hey, you know what? Only show this ad that is super high ACOS, but only show this ad to an audience of people who look like my best customers. And I'm willing to pay a premium for that. Now, all of a sudden, and think about it from a retail store, imagine all these shoppers walking by and the window and the shutter is only opening for the person that was more likely to buy your product because they look like your best customer. Right? And you only pay when you open the window. Everyone wants that. I only want to get in front of the people that are most likely to buy my product. And so the dive deeper that you're asking me there is build that audience through AMC because you can understand it now. Look at who those new to brand customers are and everything and target them again and put it into your campaigns and incorporate it into these top funnel campaigns as well. You'll see a lot more effectiveness towards those campaigns. And one of the examples I like to use, like we're looking at that's an 80% ACOS campaign when it's just keyword only. Keyword and audience is probably closer to, and the one I'm referencing was what dropped down to about 48%, right? So it's a high value approach here. Now I get to play that vanity campaign of being top of the funnel, but doing it for the right people, for the people that are most likely to buy my product. And so that's one that's worked really, really well for us, or a good opportunity for brands.
So, I mean, just bringing it back to the example that you made earlier, there's very little point an advertiser showing you and I feminine products. So, rather than just going with that blanket approach and just showing everybody your products, make it more targeted.
And that's probably the other tip I'd give as well. Is like, if you can start targeting audiences, targeting shoppers, if I'm going after new shoppers for me, I can leverage those audiences within DSP as well and do a top of funnel approach there off Amazon, right? That I say, hey, I want to target females. I want to target 20 to 40, or like there's so many different ways you can create that demographic data and slice the demographic data to actually hit that targeting on DSP. let alone Amazon has tens of thousands of audiences that they created. And if you think about it, Amazon has the most first-party data. They know the most about shoppers, arguably in North America for sure, but even throughout the world. And there's probably one retailer that actually has more data, but we'll hit that separately. But they have the most. And so if they have the most data on people and shoppers and people's shopping behaviors, you can actually leverage that data towards growing your audience and following them around the internet. That's huge, right? Like every time we see an ad, and I had this conversation with someone last week, and like with the CMO last week of about a $300 million brand. And he's like, well, Ollie, like programmatic, which is what DSP is, doesn't actually, like, I don't really buy it. And we were going back and forth on this all the time. And I'm like, I'm equally as skeptical. And he's like, well, then why are you saying that I should leverage these strategies? I'm like, because it's not that programmatic is new. Programmatic's been around for 20 plus years, 30 plus years. Like, it's been there. It still does work. It's a matter of understanding what its role is within your overall buying journey as well. And so there's a lot I can go into there. There's a lot of depth towards this, but it's a matter of how do you leverage programmatic with your overall funnel to get to that approach of, I'm going to target my shopper off Amazon, also target them on Amazon, and make sure you're connecting your ad placement opportunities across the funnel there towards getting that purchase.
Well, let's go into international expansion for a second, because from where I'm sitting, we have had a serious uptick in the amount of people that have wanted to move away from just the US market, especially this year with everything that's been going on with tariffs and trade wars and all of that good stuff, which I really don't want to go into. But from the other side of it, now that Amazon can give sellers like a structured growth path and that international reach, where do you think are some of the or some of the smartest brands, like where should they be looking beyond their home market in 2025?
Yeah, it's funny because there's two sides of this coin, right? Like I hear brands all the time coming from Europe into North America and vice versa, right? And so either which way, each market's unique, right? And your product's the same, right? Your product's exactly the same, but you can actually adapt a lot of your creatives to support that market, right? That how will people buy differently? How are we as societies different? You and I both have similar passions, interests, but we live in different societies. We live in different biases that exist as a result of that. And so now, how do I localize my creative? And those are questions, whether it be, hey, you know what? I'm trying to think of an example here. But we've all seen like the poorly translated ads and what it actually means in the original language and all those things that were going around for ages. Like, just focus on it. Don't just leverage Google Translate or try to leverage ChatGPT. Talk to someone in that market. Identify who that could be. And so that's one part of it, is the creatives. Make sure that your content, your listings, all of that is localized to the region that you're entering in. Don't limp in and find the easy way to do it. Don't hack it. Spend the right time to understand what that is for you. The second part I would say is price and how much people are willing to pay, right? Understanding the market is one thing, but also what your tolerance is the other. And so starting out with like leveraging, even if you leverage, I like to leverage dynamic pricing. Obviously, we have it, we talk about it, we do it, we use it. But starting with a price to understand what is the actual balance of profit and volume at your price point within that market, because it's going to be different. It's going to be fundamentally different. And then couple that with an appropriate ad strategy as well, and saying, well, let a system figure out what the right price is, and you can identify that through sales velocity and how's that shifting with the price changing there, but leveraging with ads as well and going bottom of funnel. The attributes of your product are the same. Doesn't matter what region you sell it in. And so when people have a higher purchase intent, they're going to look at those, they're going to be searching for those attributes. Like, I really like this hat. I obviously love this. I wear it all the time, but I'm going to look for, if I'm buying it again, I'm looking for this is some shade of purple, but purple off two-tone hat, right? This is still purple two-tone in Canada. It's the same in the US. It's the same in the UK. It's still the same in Germany. And so start with the bottom of funnel approach towards capturing that high intent, because then those are the shoppers that are going to tell you, are you priced right? They're looking for your product. Are they going to buy your product at that price? And so an ads pricing creative strategy towards launching in each one of these markets in an intentional way is super important.
I get that. And I think just touching on what you were talking about there with like localizing and making sure that things are translated properly as well. One thing that we see a lot is that people, when they are moving their products into new markets, may or may not take full ownership of the way that even the product descriptions are written. So just as you were saying about how cultures are different, obviously the US has got American English. You guys in Canada are very similar to the UK, as in like you spell favourite with a U in it and things like that. So even little nuances like that are important. But the way that shoppers tend to buy in Germany tends to be more statistic driven. And if I product, how much percent better is it going to make me, or how much more longevity am I going to have? And like, it's more statistical data. Whereas if the way that you advertise in the US is a lot more like emotional based, it's very like over the top. Oh, you'll feel amazing, better than you've ever felt, or things like that. So it's about recognizing how the product and the description and the advertising around it fits within that market, and does it speak to that audience as well?
And that's a big part, right? Like exactly what you said. It's as much as you and I both spell favorite and neighbor and all the words that should actually have a U correctly. Right? There are nuanced differences between the UK and between Canada as well, right? Like it's what are those differences? What are how do you identify what those are? And so, to your point, to a big part of what I believe is you got to talk to people, right? How do you understand that? How do you actually get in front of customers there? And whether that be friends or that be I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this and put you out there. But like, hey, call Lewis. You're expanding to the UK. Call Lewis. Hey, how would you view your product? What are the things there, right? And even the same for myself, Canada, US, right? And so, to your point, though, I think what's really interesting is a lot of the way that North Americans do buy is emotional based. Is very much emotional based. We have a lot more impulse buying than not, and so. Getting that click is one thing, but getting them to incentivize to say, yes, I want this because it's going to make me feel good is the biggest part, especially when you're thinking about North America and coming in here.
100%. So I want to shift it a little bit towards Walmart Marketplace as well, because I don't know if that's what you were alluding to earlier, but you were talking about some of the other places where data is key. But Walmart Marketplace is obviously surging, and especially now that Amazon has completely dropped Google Ads. So how do you see this Amazon versus Walmart Marketplace dynamic shift potentially over the next year or two?
Yeah, I think we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what is the relationship between the two. What is which marketplaces do we need to operate in? Where do we need to play? And more than anything, you want to get in front of your shopper in as many ways as possible. If you're not playing on Walmart yet, Walmart's still investing in it. There's an omni-channel component there too, where you have the ability to potentially bridge retail. And so Walmart is really looking at that side of it. And so I'm a big believer that you got to cover at least Amazon and Walmart. Those cover that's pretty much 98% of sales that happen in marketplaces, right, around the world. So now out of that 98, though, 96 is Amazon and 2 is Walmart, but whatever. It covers majority of there. And then the rest of those marketplaces, about 130 or 40 beyond that, right? The rest of those marketplaces are more nuanced towards regions, whether it be like, especially Europe. Europe has a bunch of marketplaces in each country, right? The other is also niches, right? Like Wayfair is furniture, right? You have Chewy, which is pets, right? So you have to find those niches and find those regions. So from the part that we talked about earlier as well, the mix, I don't think, has ever changed. I think that people need to spend more time, as Amazon and CPCs are only rising, to get in front of their customers in different ways that isn't as crowded or isn't as noisy in comparison to Amazon and the shelves that they play on currently on .com or .ca or any of the other marketplaces around Amazon as well. But it's a good opportunity.
Walmart is big, and I personally went to an event that they did recently in London where they're now onboarding UK sellers to then sell on Walmart Marketplace over in the US. Also, they're starting more of an international reach, and of course, they're already established in, I think, Chile, Mexico, and Canada as well. So they're really taking over that side. I wonder if we'll see Walmart Marketplace in the UK at some point as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think that they're not like their investment into marketplaces is only continuing and growing. And they hit a shopper segment that is pretty broad. Yes, albeit it's not always your it's not your Whole Foods segment by any means, but they have a large base because a lot of people, and you and I, like, we both shop at Walmart, right? Like there's a lot of people who live in that segment, and so they have a large place that they can go after, and also the ability to sell into stores that Amazon can't really offer you, right? And so if you think about that 1P model, what Walmart has to offer, getting in front of a buyer in front of Walmart would be valuable, but it always is something that I think about is like, hey, like bringing into Walmart, like that'd be a big win, right? They're gonna buy, they're gonna sell, they're gonna put on their shelves, but they're not stopping. And so how do you get in at a time that allows you to stay ahead of the curve, ahead of your competitors, and not be in the crowded space that you're currently in on Amazon all the time? Because it's Amazon, it's more entrants every day, and it's cheaper. You can't even match the prices half the time, right? But that's an interesting one. Have you noticed this? Like, I don't know if you guys look at the lag time here, but a product comes into market, super niche, right? Normally it was like you had a year moat of time before someone else started coming in and competing with you. What I've heard now from brands and what I've been seeing is that time lag is actually only a 30 to 90 days before new competitors come in when they start seeing something take off. That's crazy.
So much data behind it now that people can just recognize every opportunity, so other folks just jump on it as well. There's very little time where somebody just gets like free roam of like that specific category niche before somebody else recognizes, oh, holy crap, there's a lot of money to be made here, and then they maybe jump in with it, and they've got either maybe like less overheads or whatever it might be that can mean that they can offer a lower price. And as you say, there's very little brand loyalty when it comes to especially a new product on the market. So if you get somebody else who enters the market slightly less than you, then you're done, aren't you?
And then it begs the question: Is Amazon do you launch first on Amazon, right? Where that's what it was for ages and years. And there's a lot of brands that launch first on Amazon, exclusively sell on Amazon, and spent their time that way. And now it's a matter of saying, well, Amazon's exceptionally saturated. The competitors come in, can kind of beat you out, and sometimes those might be your own manufacturers and and players that actually have the ability to do it for cost effectively. So then, how do I build a brand? Can I build a brand on Amazon? And yes, you can. I do believe you can. But where do I start first? If I were to launch something, where do I launch a new product? I launch my D2C first and get in front of my customers because I have all of that shopping data, and then leverage that to then start on Amazon and kind of build a bit more of a moat from a brand standpoint. You have to differentiate, and that's branding's not a new concept either. You got to differentiate, you got to create a brand and build loyal customers. And in the absence of a brand, you can't build loyal customers. They don't know who you are.
But it's interesting that we're now seeing really big players come back into the market as well. So there's an example earlier where Nike, all of their stock you can now buy on Amazon again, but they weren't on Amazon for years. And then they've managed to blacklist all resellers of their products so that they're the only party who can sell their products again. So it's funny that you get super large multinational conglomerates that have been really successful without it, then rejoined the game again. Clearly, if they're as big as what they are, but they can still see the benefit behind it, then there's plenty of opportunity for everybody out there.
That's it, right? And like that's where like Amazon, I know Amazon was courting them for a while, and Nike coming back is only signaling the same thing that we were just talking about. They have a brand, they have brand loyalty. I exclusively wear Air Forces, and you'll never see me with stripes on my feet. And so it's they have brand loyalty, and so people are searching for things on Amazon. There are Nike products being sold on Amazon. To your point, all those guys are going away, and like saying, well, let's get in front of the customer directly. If we look at it, it's about 6 to 7 out of 10 shoppers start their buying journey on Amazon. They don't go to Nike.com. They don't go to my store. They don't go to any other store. They go to Amazon first. Even if I'm in the mall, I go to Amazon and say, hey, should I buy this on Amazon over buying it here, right? Like we all do that. We all shop online while we're shopping physically too. And so, and in my view, especially with Nike's, I don't know if you're an investor or not, but their financials haven't been as much, haven't grown as much as they need to have grown. And so it's, hey, well, where are all the customers? They're on Amazon. They start buying on Amazon. So let's make sure our brand shows up for them. Let's actually compete against our competitors in that category as well. And so my belief, especially with their new CEO coming in, is they want to get in front of customers. They want to make sure that Nike is Nike, And that whole just do it gang continues. Let's go with, but let's not avoid and be brand snotty, I guess, to some extent here, and say, well, only buy from Nike.com or one of my players. We're going to play directly with Amazon, and it is what it is. We got to take some cut for that because Amazon's got the customer.
That makes perfect sense. But I suppose going back a step to some players who may be a little bit smaller and maybe more concerned about costs. Now that we've seen that Amazon's ad costs are climbing and margins are thinning, and it always seems as though there's a new expense that comes in on Amazon every single year. So what do you think brands should be doing so that they can remain profitable nowadays?
Yeah, I think a big part that gets lost when we talked about this earlier as well, when you always think about ACOS, you lose sight of what is your tacos. And tacos is fundamentally, it's how much of every dollar of revenue that you make that you're willing to put towards advertising. So if you're doing a 10% tacos, that's 10 cents of every dollar, right? So now if I have that budget and I know what my and again, it's step one, make sure you understand your unit economics, like your cost of goods, your overhead, all of that. How does it feed into an individual dollar that you're making? If I know that 10% is where I need to be, or 10 cents is my max, and that's how much I'm willing to spend. If I'm spending over, I need to make changes to my campaigns. If I'm spending under, I need to invest into other campaigns. And so as margins are shrinking, you need to be intentional with where you're spending your money. You need to say, I'm willing to advertise at 10 cents of every dollar and then optimize everything against your tacos. And more importantly, thinking about your tacos as a budget, not necessarily a metric, if that makes sense. Right? So if you're over budget, under budget.
Okay. So now that all of that data is everywhere, what would be your method for stripping out all of these vanity metrics just so that you can focus on the real actionable data that's actually going to get you to the point where you can either increase that profitability or scale abroad if that's what you want to do eventually?
Yeah, I think both things are those are two strategies to help grow. One's to help grow top line. One is to make sure your bottom line stays in check, right? And so tacos, and arguably you can say that both for tacos, but looking at your tacos, looking at AMC as a big part of that, campaigns in isolation are not going to be the win there. So you need to understand where your shoppers are coming from. A lot of the brands that are winning and a lot of the bigger brands, and we talked about this with the Nikes and all of that, it's where am I getting my new to brand from? How am I driving how am I getting additional customers to buy again from me? How am I getting to spend more with me? And those three concepts, those three business strategies it's every business. I can't stress it enough. And so tacos, AMC, and ACOS, and the intersection of all three of those is what you need to be making your decisions off of, right? Tacos tells you what mode you're in, what strategy you're on, whether you're over or under, and where you need to be. AMC tells you your incrementality, and ACOS tells you your efficiency. And so those are the three. I call it the tacos code, is the way I described it. I'm bullish on this. I've talked to so many brands about this over the course of over time, and whether it was last year or this year, it's super important to make sure that you're staying within that intentional spend, that intentionality behind it. I want to be at 10. I am going to spend 10 cents because that's going to drive my sales. Because if not, you're just leaving money on the table. If not, you're cutting what looks inefficient but not driving tomorrow's growth. And if not, you're not going to be profitable. You need to be focused, you need to be intentional, you need to drive towards a target, not just keep running ads, not just keep driving traffic for the sake of it.
Okay. So let's start to bring a bit of AI into it, because I know that that's top level for most people, right? And I know that you guys lean heavily on AI to power the ad performance, but where do you think AI is actually moving the needle for a lot of Amazon sellers today? And where is it like mostly overhyped? So what are the key things that people should be focusing on, and what are the things that people are focusing too much on that they probably shouldn't?
Yeah, I think the easy win that we've seen a lot of the space taking over the last few months has been, let me just chat with my data. Let me chat with my data and then build me a report. Like that's not AI. That's not the benefit of AI. That's not what AI in e-commerce is, right? And that's the part. To be honest, I struggle with that because everyone's like, "Well, I get asked all the time, do you have an LM? Can I just ask it a question?" And yeah, those are all valuable things. Those are all real things. Like no one's discounting that. but not being, then what? Now you've asked the question. Now you've got your data in a fashion and you have a tool that, or anything that allows you to see all of that, right? Then what? It's that next level of saying, well, how can I leverage AI to drive my optimization? Now the question and understanding something is things we already know. It's ways, we have systems for it. Okay, great. It's a little bit easier. But it's the other side of it is saying, well, how do I then say, okay, well, if AI is showing me that all of these campaigns are actually in exactly what I was talking about, the tacos code, if all those things are not going in the right direction for me, what do I adjust? Why should I adjust it? That's the real question. That's the real data to be able to then say, well, now what do I do, right? And it's this, the strategic layer. It's that part on top that helps you make decisions, and that gives you the ability to say, okay, well, now go and change this across all my campaigns. Go and edit this across adjust my price and my advertising based on what you're seeing with my sell-through rate as a result. It's the part that's making your life actually easier. It's the part that's not just giving you more data or another way to ask it a question and just talk to your data. It's the ability to action it and drive real results for you. And so I do believe that that part of it hasn't really, with a lot of this new AI stuff, hasn't really come to fruition. And we're working on a whole bunch of stuff. And I can't say much more on that. But there's some really cool things there about how do you leverage AI in terms of driving commerce decisions. And so, and one more on that, about a year ago, I said this on a podcast as well, and I've talked about it ever since then. The world of e-commerce is moving towards agentic commerce. It's not us making these decisions anymore, right? Google did that with Performance Max and that campaign, Performance Max and the algo already. It's like, hey, you can't adjust any of this stuff. We're going to tell you what's right. You just give us a few other parameters. That's it. And so Amazon's going that way too. It's not far off from that. And agentic commerce and our ability to run our own business with AI agents there's already parts that are there and people are built it out and solve for it. But it's the future of how we think about e-commerce and how we think about getting in front of shoppers. And so the moving the needle part, I would definitely say that it's the ones that allow you to drive action, not just ask questions.
Yeah.
Right. And we've been leveraging a lot of these algorithms. Like we have 3 different bidding algorithms and tying it in even to our pricing side and tying it all together. And at the end of the day, AI should act, not just report. It's things that it's really important to think about it that way versus like, this is just cool that I can ask questions. It doesn't add any value. But I'm not throwing shade. I'm just being real.
Give me some more background on agentic e-commerce as a general topic. So like, can you explain it in like layman's terms for anybody who's not already in the know?
What I mean by agentic e-commerce?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do a little thought experiment then, Lewis, if you don't mind. How much time do we got?
We've got all the time you need. Go on, fire away.
Okay, so
are you putting me in the hot seat?
Yeah, a little bit. Why not? Let's have some fun.
Right, let's go for it.
But do you leverage any AI agents today?
ChatGPT and Copilot.
Okay. Now, ChatGPT do you use like the browser or anything like that, or do you actually use the agents within Chat?
I'm just on the free version, just on the browser.
Okay. So that from that standpoint, in the same way, if we were to amalgamate, let's call it you as a user, everyone's on the free version, which is the ads console, right? E-commerce as a whole. It's the base elements out of the box. The next evolution that happens from there, right, is, and we saw this with like digitization, everything as a whole, is saying, well, now I have all of this. I have the free version. You're going to pay for it. You're going to get whatever. But the evolution then becomes you ask questions right now. Chat also has agents that you can say, hey, I want you to go and do all of these things, build a workflow for me, right? In the Amazon world, a lot of what we do is, okay, I'm going to leverage technology to help solve and do my bidding for me, right? To help with my bidding algorithms, tools like ourselves, right? Tools like, there's so many different PPC tools out there, dynamic pricing. Hey, I know what I want to do, right? I already know what I want to do. I just need someone to do it for me. I know the bounds of which I want it to do it in. And so now the next layer of that becomes saying, well, how do I actually say, if we look at all of these things still require human input, right? Even if you built the agents on Chat to leverage your own workflows and build out everything you need, even if you leverage tools like us, the next layer of that is saying, well, how do I actually go connect all of these and make these commerce decisions in real time, right? That you and the person, it's replacing the strategy layer. It's replacing how you think, right? That now I know what goal I have. If it's a 10% tacos goal, I know what I need to do next. And it's not about getting rid of who you are as a person, the brain and the way you think, because that's far away from where that is. But it's super focused, super localized, and it's really just talking back and forth within the data and making those quick decisions for you. And so agentic commerce, think about it like rebalancing budgets. Think about changing price as a result of market dynamics, pushing it down and adjusting your advertising at the same time. There's so many different like small micro examples of that, saying, well, if I want to get to a goal, how can the system underneath it power it within this frameworks that I've created or even not created, and think beyond that? And so I do believe it's a shift in how digital commerce systems will behave. It's a matter of saying this is where we want to go, and things are going to happen in the background to support it within the rules. And so it's as much as I was going to put you on the hot seat, I was like, I feel bad, but it's the AI autonomy. It's the decision orchestration that really will happen there. That will take over. And so agentic commerce is the future, man. It's naturally going to happen.
Well, even now, like the way that people interface with AI, and even just like myself using the free version, I can just provide it a prompt and say, hey, I want a new snowboard. It's got to be black. It's got to be less than 500 pounds. It's got to be in stock right now in the UK. It's got to be this size. And then it will come back with a bunch of results, and it say, can give me links to that direct website, and I can then just click on that, purchase through there. So the way that people are interfacing, that's taken away some of the ad layer, because you're talking to this thing that oftentimes people think is almost human because of the way that it is providing you with information. So it's kind of doing a bit of personal shopping as it is at the moment. The flip side of that, from where we are as a business, we'll often get leads that come through our system that have arrived at Avast because of interfacing with AI. And people are talking to it and saying, hey, I want to expand internationally. What should I do? I've got my products in this market. I'm now thinking about going over here. How do I do that? And it will say, you need a VAT registration. Maybe you need to think about EPR. You need to think about logistics. And then they'll go, okay, cool. Who is a good provider for that? And it'll go, Avast is. And then bing, somebody then sends an inquiry and they speak to me. So even the way that adverts are running now, I suppose I'm not saying there's been a shift away from just traditional advertising, but I imagine you guys have got your own approach that is different to more traditional tools. So how do you think all of this is going to play in it over the next few years as well? Are we going to see a shift away from normal advertising as more people interface with these large language models?
Yeah, I'm going to click into a few things. I'm going to start with that one and then work a little backwards there too. The large language models are replacing search, right? Even Google at this point has said, here's an AI summary that we're going to give you and a bunch of links to get you there. So in that way, and we've seen this, HubSpot is probably the king of SEO and has been for a while. And their traffic's down month over month, like exponentially, right? And so SEO as a whole and then leveraging ads, you don't see those ads until you finish the AI agent. You don't see them on chat. You don't see any of those. And so the landscape is shifting. The landscape is drastically shifting. And the future of that landscape is really the same thing that happened when search came about, when web search came about, right? It was, well, you can use, here's 100 different tools, different search. There was like Alta Vista, there was like all these other ones at the time, right? And then it said, okay, well, we became a huge consolidation, right? And now what we have is, there's literally a couple, like Google, Bing. Am I missing one? I don't think so. Right? And so you got two when there was hundreds before. And as that consolidation happened, you saw the rise of Google Ads, right? You saw the rise of the advertising on there because, hey, we can monetize all this. It's going to be the same thing. You see Amazon tested that out with Rufus as well, where you see sponsored product ads in there too, right? Sponsored brand. It's like, so, but we don't know which ones they're doing. You can't get in there yet, but whatever. But it's a natural evolution of where it's going to go. And so then becomes where I'm talking about for the agentic commerce side. What you said there is like, hey, I want it to be available in the UK. You give it all these descriptions, right? Everything that you want. What if it knows you? What if it knows that as a base, you want to be available in the UK. It knows that you're gonna like a black on black look here because for some reason everyone in the UK loves the black on black, man. And from a general style perspective, I like this, I like this, I like this. It knows those things for you. And so think about it in this way, that this agent is just a buyer for you, right? The evolution of that is it's actually thinking and acting like you and making decisions for you and the trade-offs around those decisions based on who it thinks you are. And so you tell, hey, I want to buy this. Everything else, make a call and show it to me. And you're happy with it. You're like, this is exactly what I would have wanted. Fits within your budget, all of those things. Like, that's where I view agentic commerce going. It's AI systems that think and act like operators, right? And running within your own guardrails, like running within your own frameworks within your mind of how to evaluate these pieces. And so, where we're at right now is, I call it like the LLM shopping phase. It's like the new discovery, like the LLM e-commerce kind of thing, the new discovery way, and shoppers and everyone are going through that. We'll get ads on top of that. As businesses, I think we'll be able to run our businesses more effectively as we get more and more agents that support the growth of e-commerce. And as people as well, as utopian as it might seem, it's like, hey, it already knows what you like. You do this one day, Lewis. Ask ChatGPT to tell you about yourself based on everything you've ever told it. And how does it think about you? And what does it think about you? What is your behaviors? What kind of shopping behaviors do you have? What do you like? What do you not like? And see what it tells you. And let's figure out if that actually, and I've done this, and it's exactly me, man. It's like, yeah, you nailed it. And so do that. It's a really interesting thought experiment. And so if it knows that already, just based on what you typed to it, and you haven't told it like deep personal thoughts by any means, you haven't told it your insecurities, but it has the ability to analyze those and decode those from your own language because it's a language model, right? Imagine what it knows. Imagine if that was your friend buying that for you, being that autonomous person to make those decisions for you.
You'd never have to take a Christmas present back again. You'd never need to keep any receipts. You'd get it like bang on every single time.
Killing the entire return market right there.
Yeah. That can only be different.
Yeah.
The thing is, well, when you are interfacing with these things, you have to be really careful about how much you listen to the responses as well, though, because in my own experience, I find that ChatGPT and other large language models, they tend to glaze you. Like, they tend to be very complimentary, very positive, very optimistic all the time. And I think there's some sort of coding in that's trying to keep you on the platform so you use it more and all of these things. But, you have to sometimes tell it to be a little bit more cynical, because if you go, what do you know about me? It's going to be like, hey, you're fantastic. You're going to be CEO of a huge company one day. You're great. I would love to be your friend. You're like, whoa, steady on a little bit here. Like, just tell me the truth.
Yeah, exactly. I want the raw, unabridged version of the hot takes on who Ollie is. That's like and it'll still do it because you're asking for it in that way. And so, but to your point, people always get mad about UX, and this is just the AI UX, right? Where it's like, we want you to stay chat. Every platform makes more money by you spending more time on the platform. And leveraging it a lot more. And so it's the stickiness of it and making sure that you stay. And OpenAI has done a wonderful job of making sure people come back every day.
Right.
Yeah. But it's fun. So where's AI moving the needle? Life, man. Life, business, all aspects of how we think, how we shop, but how we run our businesses day over day. And so how do we leverage what it is today before tomorrow comes and we're already behind? Because we all have competitors. It's not changing. But being ahead of the curve and adopting these tools and trying them out is really important, because we don't know which ones are going to win. We don't know which ones are going to be the best ones. We don't know if Chat's going to win out, or it's going to be your Perplexity, or it's going to be Claude, or we don't know who's going to win. We have no idea. We don't know. We're at the beginning phase of the proliferation of AI tools. And now it's you're going to start seeing the consolidation. And that's going to happen, and then I'd argue in the next 5 years, but doesn't mean that you don't try something, doesn't mean you don't do something. And being scared of it is not going to help you grow your business, because I'm telling you right now, a lot of business, a lot of brands are driving and leveraging AI and trying new things every day right now. And so move the needle by just doing something. Step one.
You were talking about Rufus a little bit earlier on, and it was in the back of, wanted to mention it, then we went on to a different topic. But we've talked about Rufus previously in a couple of other videos. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it really in general. And again, if you can give us a bit of a rundown of what that is for the uninitiated, and then how you think that's going to change the way, again, that people interface with Amazon specifically.
Yeah, Rufus is just their search. Like you see it underneath images sometimes too. It's like what people's questions that they have. But it's kind of like their AI assistant, and Amazon's spending a lot of money on that to augment the shopping experience for their customers, right? Because fundamentally, they're seller first. That's why people like going back to them, right? And so they're figuring out, can this be a different way for people to interact with, add value with, have the conversations like, hey, what's the right snowboard for me? What do people like? I'm looking for something like this, right? And so adapting and people are using it more and more. But adapting to it and changing the way you look at your content specifically is a big part of that, right? And saying, hey, because it's not always keyword based now, it's conversational based. It's answering questions for people. There's always, and there's even examples of it reading images and doing the OCR on images to be able to understand context. And so that's one part of it. But the second part of it, it's going to change the way you advertise as well. At some point, they're going to release the ability to be placed on certain conversational intent-based queries kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's going to change how you advertise. You're going to advertise against questions, not always just like black hat. It's cool hat that, a cool hat for me. For example, a cool hat for I don't know, young male I still think I'm young. But right, like it's like, hey, I'm looking for a really cool hat that I can wear outdoors when I'm hiking. Right? Or I'm looking for a really cool hat that I can wear to the Raptors game. Right? And so as you and I leveraging LLMs every day, we're already chatting that way. We're already doing that. We're asking these questions. And Google knew this for a while too. Google used to autofill with the question for you when you started searching a few keywords. So that conversational bit and moving that into ads and thinking about that. So step one is for Rufus, make sure your content's actually updating there because that's their conversational kind of AI assistant. And shopping experience. And then step two is that's going to start translating into ads. And so how do you make sure your content still has the supporting element of when you want to start going after ads too? So it's interesting. It's interesting. I do see a lot of uptick in it, especially when we talk to a lot of people at Amazon as well in terms of how many more people are using it too.
Are you already changing the way that you help people create ads because of the fact that you know that this is coming in and becoming more ubiquitous day by day? Or are you pretty much just staying back for the moment? What's the play from your guys' perspective?
I think that two parts. So one, you can't actually track attribution back from Rufus right now. It's the hard part. They're not telling you that someone clicked on it this way or came in through here. And so you can't target something you can't see, right? So that's one part of it. The other part is we know semantic search at this point. Right, a lot of whether it be on the creative side or helping brands with it, and thinking about it from that standpoint, it's updating your content towards that is going to be super helpful. And similarly, when you start thinking about how people shop through LLMs, they shop through the semantic side as well. And so, how does your content support that too? And so, getting ready from like an AI first approach and an LM approach that's something you can do today, irrespective of whether you can see it or not. But it is something that and something that we already see the impacts of as well. And so, shifting your content. From not just keywords, but also from a conversational standpoint, and the semantic side of it is going to be super important. And so what we do right now.
So we always, one thing that I always like to do as we're sort of rounding this out is talk about practical advice to new founders. The last question that I always end with, it's $1 million question. If you had to start again this weekend, right? And you've got a bit of breathing time because it's currently Monday as we're recording this. But if you lost everything and you had to start a brand from flat zero, what would be the very first move you would make to build back profitably, and why?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and this one you kind of prepped me for, and I didn't have the answer for it as like a direct answer of like you have to do it this way. If you're building a brand for the first time on Amazon, you have to do it this way. But what's changed now, right? We talked about this. The moat when you launch is smaller, right? It's substantially smaller. You don't have as much run rate afterwards as well. And so what I would suggest and what I would recommend to founders and brands starting for the first time is, number one, understand the unit economics, understand your product, understand your niche, understand the keyword velocity, the intent there. And there's tools out there to help support that. Step two is saying, well, this is product one. What are the variants that could come after that if we do see the success we're looking for? What are the ones that are complementary? Is this, let's say it's a mug. Can I add a traveler component on top of that? Can I add a cozy for it? Can I add other things that add additional value to help increase my AOV down the line? Can I add, I'm going to sell the coffee that's made perfectly for this mug, for example. I don't know, right? Like it's a little sachet that goes in of sugar. I don't know, whatever it is. But it's
Sounds
saying
like Apple's playbook there. It's like, let's make a phone that's got a very specific cable that only we sell. Let's sell an attachment that's a very specific attachment that only we sell. It's like you could be your own bundle then.
Exactly. And like, if you look at that example, iPhones don't launch with, it's not like the cases come out like 10 weeks later. It comes out the same day. It comes out, all of the things that you can buy to add on to it come out at the same time. We are an Apple and can't afford to do that, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't have thought about that, right? And making sure that, hey, this is our next steps. And so step one is going to say, what's the product? What's the niche? What are the other things that I can build in succession, in a quick succession order to continue that moat from a uniqueness from a product standpoint, help build that brand. And then step two is saying, well, let's start with driving the right price and figuring what that is in market and building a full funnel advertising approach and starting from the bottom and working your way up. But because you cannot do this, Amazon is not, it's pay to play. I think if you're like if you're like number 5 organic or number 6 organic on Amazon, you're not even showing up until like 3 scrolls later on mobile at this point, because there's so many different ads that are coming in there, right? So it is pay to play. You're going to have to pay to play. You're not going to be at position number 1 off the hop. And so have the right budget to support that. Don't, anyone telling you to spend $5,000 on ads and you're going to be fine is not really guiding you in the right way. It's expensive. CPCs are higher as well. And so you have a budget to pay to play, have the right products to tailor on to make sure that you continue to build your moat, to continue to build your brand in the same capacity. And so build a brand, leverage a niche, and have the right advertising mix and the right advertising budgets to help support your growth on Amazon as well. And so, like I said, there isn't a one way of, there's a first move, but the first move isn't going to let you win. You have to do all of these moves in either succession or in parallel as well to actually drive your success. You can't limp in. Full send every time.
So practical advice for founders: full send every time.
Keep going. Like it's if you kind of take that half step. Okay, I'm just going to put $1,000 behind ads and see what happens. I'm with you on it testing. It's not going to get you anywhere. Hey, I'm going to launch a super high priced product in a market that has a bit of competitors in. Again, not going to get you anywhere. I'm only going to launch this one product and I'm going to bank my entire future on it. Again, not going to get you anywhere. Full send is building a brand, right? Let's add on what those products are. Full send is saying, how do I build my advertising strategy up and keep going as I see early signs of success? Even if I don't see success, what are my opportunities to keep coming back around to? Right? It's not, you can't just take one step into Amazon anymore and one step into each one of these. You have to take the first 10 steps in every single one of these areas to build a brand and start from zero right now.
100%. So let's wrap it up here, but it's been a pleasure having you on. Before we go, where can people find you? What do they need your expertise for? And what are the next steps for Trellis as well, by the way?
Yeah, look, we're keep on going here, man. It's a lot of the AI stuff that we're working on and thinking about. If it gives you an idea of where we're thinking, right? In terms of the agents, the agentic commerce, where we're headed, and what we're building in the background here. We like to build tools that allow you to analyze, optimize, and execute as well. And so, next step is saying what is our consistent move towards that agentic commerce side of things, continue growing, continue meeting new people, continue teaching, and continue being good partners for our current clients and agencies that we support. And and for people, for brands like yourself and Avask and everyone else in the industry too. And so we're good people. We like to do what we do, and we're really passionate about it as well. And so next is full send. And so to hit me up, you can find me on LinkedIn, Ali Babel. You can shoot me an email, Ali at GoTrellis, GoTrellis.com. I'm more than happy to chat with anyone. I know, Lewis, you've seen me at a lot of these shows as well. I spend a lot of time with a lot of people, and I'm happy to do so. If I can help in any way, if we can support in any way, let us know. But anything that whether it be looking at driving more profit on marketplaces through advertising and automation, or just having a conversation about the future of the space and what agentic commerce looks like, or figuring out whether or not Lewis really did buy that that's no words.
What I'm talking about.
Yeah, hit me up. Happy to chat.
Yeah. Well, I like as well how you just said that your practical advice for new founders is go full send. And then when I say to you, what are you guys doing next? It's go full send. So I just love the fact that you're championing what you actually given advice to other people on as well. You know, you're really running with that torch. I love that.
You got it. There's only, I've always believed the only way out is through. And if you go slowly through it, it's just going to take longer. Go hard, give it what you got. And the outcome of hard work is success. It's a byproduct. It's not something that you can do without actually putting in the time, energy, and the effort.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's a good place to leave it at as well. But as I say, Ali, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll catch you all next time.
Thank you, man. Very, very much appreciate it. Happy to be here. We'll see you soon, Lewis.
Pleasure.